With that, I'd like to welcome you all to the 5,527th meeting of the Rotary Club of Chicago. Rotary One is now in session. So we're going to start off our meeting today with our thought for the day, given by our very own past president. Let's see, where is he? Where is he? Ah, there he is. Mr. John Alberts. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eric. Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Invictus was the favorite poem of Congressman John Lewis, and I present it today in his honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much. I always know to expect a good thought for the day from you, John. And I think in that same vein of thinking about the legacy of somebody like Congressman Lewis, I think this week is a week that reaffirms what we are all about as Rotarians: service above self, creating lasting change, impact in our community. It reaffirms that the goals and objectives we teased out in the strategic planning process are representative of the desires of our members and that we are headed in the right direction. And I say that because despite the pandemic, despite the stifling heat, and despite the economic challenges faced in this period by our own members, 16 members and friends of our members volunteered across 4 different volunteer opportunities this week. And many of them even multiple times. Alita, Bernard, Sarah, really appreciate that. I counted about 60 person hours of volunteer service this week. I really couldn't be prouder of our club. I'm particularly impressed by 4 of our newest members, Jane, Nick, Shay, and Natalie, who jumped right in to get their hands dirty. So please check your favorite social media feed to see some of the photos of these events. And if you were on earlier, you may have seen some scrolling through before the meeting started. The other thing I wanted to mention is that what I gathered from talking to our members at these volunteer events, as well as Thursday's in-person outdoor social event, for those of you who came, thank you very much. It was our first social event since last February, by the way, is that people really are yearning for some in-person fellowship. So we continue to monitor the COVID situation closely so that we can find safe and frankly cost-effective ways to meet again in person. As part of that, for those of you who were on last week, you know that we conducted a survey to understand your level of comfort for in-person meetings. And we're going to do that again here today. So Karen, when you get a chance, if you can put the survey in the chat box. If you already answered this last week, you don't have to answer it again. I just know that we have some Rotary One members on today who were not on last week. So if you did not answer this survey, it's just 2 quick questions, really trying to gauge if you're comfortable doing an in-person outdoor meeting. And then second question is, when would you be comfortable doing an in-person indoor meeting? And if you're having trouble with the survey, which is in the chat box, you can always just email your answers to those questions, or you can chat them, put them in the chat box and send to Karen. So feel free to answer that survey at any point here during our program. And like I said, if you've answered already, no need to do it again. So let's move on to our program for today. So again, just please stay on mute. And if you have any questions for our speaker during the program, please put them in the chat box during the presentation, and I'll share as many as time allows for. So as today's program sparks the imagination, particularly for young people interested in science and engineering, we decided to team with the Chicago Engineers Foundation that's near and dear to my heart, as I also happen to be president of that foundation. And here to tell us a little more about CEF is Debbie Burrell, Executive Director. Debbie, the floor is yours.
Eric, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone on today's meeting and to everyone at Rotary for welcoming us and partnering with us on different opportunities throughout the year. Just to get to know us a little bit, the mission of Chicago Engineers Foundation is to encourage and empower young people to become the next generation of engineers. And we work to accomplish our mission through programming that offers information, resources, and mentorship to Chicago students. We have an outreach program where we are inspiring young minds now virtually at classrooms and through organizations throughout the city of Chicago. Our volunteers who are engineering professionals will visit with students via Zoom, Google Meet, etc., and hopefully at some point again in person, where we will basically talk about engineering concepts and encourage students to get excited about engineering and start thinking like an engineer. Our main program is our Scholarship Award Program, which some of you may know as Rotary One is a partner of our Incentive Award Program. And what we do, starting way back 50 years ago, is we provide direct support to aspiring engineers as they're achieving or pursuing their engineering studies. Annually, CEF is presenting up to 100 scholarship awards to students working towards engineering degrees. We are about to present our class of 2020 this coming Friday. Virtually, again, we'll be here on Zoom, and there's information about that on our website. And these are merit-based opportunities for our students that start when someone graduates high school, and it's the opportunity for renewable support totaling $5,000 over 4 years of college matriculation. Rotary One is, as I mentioned, a partner of our Scholarship Award Program and has been following 3 students for the last 4 years now, providing that $5,000 of support to each of our students. They are going to be graduating this spring, May 2021. Elizabeth, David, and Brett will be graduating from their engineering schools, thanks in partnership, which is an incredible thing, to our friends at Rotary One Chicago. And on behalf of our students, on behalf of our leadership, we thank you so much for this level of partnership and for following our students as they have worked so hard to complete their studies. I'll just take one more second to say another component we offer to our students is our new career development program, kind of similar-ish to Job One, but a little bit different. We're offering our award recipients access to all sorts of career development tools as they're working towards their engineering degrees. We are doing both in-person and, of course, now virtual workshops. We're doing resume development, networking events, mentoring opportunities, internship placement, corporate tours as we can, basically all the different tools a student might need as they are working towards their studies and getting towards achieving their engineering career goals. More information about CEF and what we do is available on our website, chicagoengineersfoundation.org. Again, we thank you so much for your partnership over these last many years, and we look forward to many more partnerships to come. Thank you for being part of our Scholarship Award Program. Thank you for volunteering your time. I know there's many volunteers on this call and within Rotary who help us every day, including Eric as our president, as he is yours. Enjoy today's presentation, and thank you so much for having us be a part of it.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Appreciate that. So now to introduce our speaker today is my fellow Rotary One member, Honorary Consul for the Republic of Cabo Verde, Harriet Lewis. Harriet, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here today. I'm also honored to be able to welcome and introduce Louis S.G. Braxton III to our club today, and looking forward to listening to his insights. I did Google him, and I found a video that's still on NASA's website from a summer session 2014 called Lessons Learned en Route to Becoming Center Director, that I thoroughly enjoyed, where I learned some of his excellent insights on leadership. And specifically, I found a little enjoyable his story about his first day at Dryden, It was funny. So maybe he'll touch on it, maybe he won't. But to read his bio, Lewis S.G. Braxton III retired from the National Aeronautical and Space Administration after 40 years of service on January 31st, 2015. During the last 7 years of his service, he served as the Deputy Center Director of NASA Ames Research Center. During his time serving as Ames's Deputy Center Director, he also served 1 year at NASA headquarters as NASA Deputy Associate Administrator for Mission Support, acting, providing leadership and guidance over $1.8 billion agency-wide mission support budget and its activities. Prior to being the Deputy Center Director, as mentioned earlier, he began his career as a co-op student at the then NASA Dryden Flight Research Center and rose to serve 6 years as Ames CFO, who managed a budget that grew over $850 million. As the Deputy Center Director, he enabled and provided guidance for key NASA projects and programs to include LADY, Next Generation Air Traffic Management, SOFIA, and Kepler. He supports the success of work on International Space Station. He supported the work on International Space Station, including rodent habitat, as well as provided guidance and support to the agency's virtual institutes. His leadership and support contributed to NASA Ames research to confirm water on the moon, discover more than 2,500 planets revolving around other suns and other galaxies, produce and operate one of the world's fastest supercomputers, provide the United States National Airspace System with air traffic software and control tools, produce advanced materials and thermal protection capabilities for spacecraft, and I can go on and on and on. I am so excited and honored to welcome Mr. Braxton to our club today. Thank you.
Thank you, Harriet. Yeah, it's a mouthful. And it's symbolic of the challenge we had when I was working at Ames Research Center trying to figure out what is the elevator speech for what we do at Ames. I'm really happy with this opportunity to come here and share a little bit about NASA. I will start with a little bit of a foundational statement here that anything that is good about this you can share with me later. Anything bad, I want to do what I call full disclosure. Willard Williams is my cousin that's sitting in here listening, so you give him all the bad news and give me all the good news, okay? NASA is a very difficult organization to get your hands on because a lot of people don't realize just how extensive the agency is. I'm going to start by trying to give you some foundational makeup what NASA is about, and then talk about the center that I was principally responsible for leading, running, strategic directions, tactical direction. Talk a little bit about things that occurred to me personally, as well as get into the grand challenges facing NASA today, and just give you an idea of just how much we really don't know, with that, next chart, please. Next chart. What a lot of people don't realize is that the agency is a federal agency. I don't know how many times people come up to me because we do such wonderful things and it inspire people in the type of activities that we accomplish that they think it's a private industry company. It's not. It is a federal agency. It's a federal agency that's across the entire United States. It makes up roughly 12 different sites. 4 of those sites originally were part of the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. That's the center. One of those centers were the center I was responsible for, with Ames Research Center. The other one is Dryden. Both those are in California. Langley Research Center in Virginia, you best known because of Hidden Figures with the young lady that they made a movie on, as well as Glenn Research Center up in Cleveland, Ohio. Those are the 4 basic centers that established the agency. All the others that came along after 1958 to form the basic foundation of what the agency was going to try to accomplish. In this chart, there's one thing I would like to mention that's not shown. In the state of New Mexico, we do have a test facility at White Sands Test Proving Ground. That's basically to do physical testing of space hardware and rocketry engines to make sure that they perform the way we expect them to perform. The agency has an overall budget today of $22.6 billion. That's about a 26% increase from when I retired in 2015. It makes up less than 0.5 cent of the overall government's budget. Even though it sounds like a lot of money, it's less than 0.5 cent per person who puts in $1. It has over 60,000 employees. 18,000 are roughly civil servants. The other 42 or 40,000 are contractors that we work with. This agency is immense in the sense that it's divided in such a way to make sure that we could do space exploration that's normally associated with the southern centers down at Johnson Space Center, Stennis, Marshall, and Kennedy down in the southern region of the United States. The rest of the agency is basically either doing fundamental research activity or doing space science work. Next chart, please. Nice thing about the agency is big and huge, and it turns about as slow as aircraft carriers. So therefore, these key areas of agency focus are still relevant today. We focus on the International Space Station. We're trying to figure out how to encourage people to commercialize space. What a lot of individuals don't realize that most of the computational capability for air traffic control in the national aerospace is produced and developed within NASA for the FAA. In order for us to get back into space in a big way exploration, we have the Orion, which is the capsule for the astronauts, and the heavy lift capabilities of the spacecraft that we're trying to develop in order to make sure we could go to Mars. And lastly, we're focusing on the replacement for Hubble, which is James Webb Space Telescope. To give you an idea, this is probably, in essence, is about 2 stories in height and about a football field in length of a craft that we're trying to put out in space and be able to look into the universe. The one thing I do want to mention is that the focus between, for human spaceflight is going to be associated with the International Space Station, the Orion Space Capsule, and the SLS. The missions you hear today that are kind of under those umbrella is the Artemis program, which is the effort that we're on a near term of getting to the moon and trying to make sure we establish a female for the first time to lay foot on the moon. Then we have what we have is a Perseverance rover, which is going to be launching at the end of this month to Mars. The nice thing about that particular rover, when it gets to Mars, is actually going to be looking for life. That's its principal mission. Before, we used to go what we call scratch and dig and try to understand what the rock formation is. But this mission is about trying to identify if life did exist there before or if there's life there now. They have helicopters associated with that mission called Ingenuity that's going to fly around and do surveillance to help the rover identify where it should go. And my center, where I used to work, next year, there's a program called Viper, which is a rover to go to the moon, which is to actually detect and identify water on the moon. A lot of times people want to understand, why do we want to find water? Well, water is where hydrogen is. Hydrogen is where energy. Energy is what we need to be able to have a stepping stone to have transportation further into the depths of the universe. So that's why water is always a key element that we're looking for. With that, the next chart, please. This timeline hasn't changed much other than the SLS keeps getting postponed and slipping as far as the development of the aircraft, the flight vehicle. I will say that with the advancements with SpaceX, with the rocketry that they have been able to produce, this timeline may get adjusted. Right now, we're still shooting for us having a human presence on Mars around 2025. I think with Elon Musk and SpaceX, I think they're looking to do it sooner if they can. A lot of this is dictated based on orbital mechanics. It's about every 2 years you have the best window to be able to launch to Mars. So right now, I think this is going to hold pretty true. Around 2025, everybody's going to race for. The wild card, like I mentioned, is going to be SpaceX. I think that you're going to find out what drives the space exploration or the commercial industry in the space is dollars and cents. You know, we shut down the shuttle program, not just because it was becoming a question about whether it was safe. We shut down the shuttle program because it cost us $600 million plus per launch to put something into space. And you could do it a lot cheaper with expendable launch vehicles at $120 million a pop. So when you had to sit there and look at those debates, that was one of the reasons that the shuttle was mothballed, not just because of safety issues. Next chart, please. The vision has always been the same, basically since I was involved with the agency. We're looking to extend and sustain human activity throughout the universe. We're looking to expand our scientific understanding of Earth and the universe. We're always looking at innovation, how we can create better technologies and make it easier for us to exist in a hazardous environment. But more important, to be able to take that innovation and repurpose it or transfer it into our own industry here within the United States. I talked a bit already about the advancement of aeronautics and the research societal impact that we're looking to establish. Enable our programs to be able to conduct aeronautic and space activities in an integrated fashion. So we have a bunch of tools that we use to do that, as far as making sure the institutional capabilities are there, like wind tunnels and simulators. And lastly, we got to share what we learned. The principal background behind NASA, supported by what they call the Space Act, is to make sure all knowledge we gain is transferred to our society, our communities in general, to make sure they have that knowledge as well. Next chart. This is an aerial view of the center that I was responsible in the southern part of the Bay Area, near Mountain View, Southern Valley. You're familiar with that, just north of San Jose. We're right on the bay. If you look in the horizon, you actually can see a portion of the San Francisco Bay. Our center was responsible for aeronautical research, space, earth, and life science, information technology, which is ideal since we were centered right in the middle of Silicon Valley. To the left of this frame, even though you can't quite see it, and in the back of the big major wind tunnel that you see, the big structure, is a Google campus now. Google is a main partner of NASA Ames Research Center. We're also into building affordable spacecraft and science capabilities to try to make it easier to get access to the space. We were the second smallest center. We had a population of 2,500 employees, about 1,200 civil servants, 1,200 contractors. As mentioned earlier, our budget was about $850 million a year. And we had a large number of students, anywhere between 200 and 600 on average. But the summertime, we could get over to 1,000 students out there doing apprenticeship type work to understand the type of research we're doing, because Ames Research Center was normally 15 years ahead of what you saw in the news, what was going on within NASA at large. The things that we were researching on and looking at, we were way in advance of trying to figure out how to get those things operationalized and dependable for the engineers. The replacement value of our center was probably about $4 to $6 billion if you were to build it from scratch. Next chart. I'm going to go through this one really quick. This is just basically the technology areas that we kind of focus on and the tools that we use to support it. The top area where it talks about aerospace and aeronautics is basically showing you the sim labs, the wind tunnels, the computational capabilities that we have with the computers, the air traffic control, computational activities that we use to deal with the national aerospace, and also we build on structural activities on aircraft. The far right corner, astrobiology, is basically when did life begin and where is life in the universe? We have a group of scientists who are focused on those activities. And you hear a lot about integrated system health management system. That's basically developing a thinking active flight vehicle or computer or human learning computer, if you want to call it, to be able to tell you when something's about to go wrong, so you don't have to have a standing routine maintenance process. The machine tells you when it's about time to do maintenance, and you can do it accordingly. Small satellite systems. We talked about having satellites the size of a basketball, the size of a cell phone. We were the first to put a cell phone in space that lasted approximately about 24 hours before the solar rays destroyed it. But the idea is to be able to put something up for a few $1,000s rather than for $100 million to $500 million, like James Space Web, which is $1 billion something. We're trying to figure out how can you do research in space at a very small cost. Material science, we used to be very proud to tell everybody, you can leave the Earth and go anywhere you want, but if you want to come back, and make sure you rise safely within the Earth's atmosphere. All the thermal protection capabilities at Ames Research Center. There's no place in the United States other than us. So you always had to come and knock on our door to make sure you got home safe. High-end computing, that was really kind of interesting. They were building that up when I left, but high-end computing was all about trying to break what I call the sound barrier in computing. How do you get the ability to process information at such a high speed without it being distorted based on the heat ratio created within the computational aspects of the computer? To do that, you had to be able to make sure that the electrons will be able to withstand that heat. If we figure out how to get past that, we can miniaturize computation to the size of a human brain as far as supercomputing capability. So that's the reason we wanted to get into that. It's very important when you're dealing with deep space exploration activities. Our partners in that was Google, D-Wave out of Canada, and of course the agency. And I think lastly, we really focus. We're known for the agency for robotics, and we're known for artificial intelligence, telerobotics, self-learning tools, etc. Next chart. Ames had a breakthrough in the synthetic biology area, very controversial. For those of you who are Star Trek geeks and watched the Wrath of Khan, the second movie that was put out there, it was all about synthetic biology. It's about the re-engineering of life-living organisms. And the reason we were into this area is that we didn't believe we could bring everything we needed to go into space in our backpacks on a spacecraft. We felt that we need to identify living organisms out in space and figure out how to re-engineer that organism to provide us the substance and capabilities that we're accustomed to living on. So it's a very controversial area, but at the same time, it's the science that we were involved with trying to figure out how to survive in extreme environments of space. I'm going to skip. Next chart is the facilities we have. Basically, you can take a look at that. It's just wind tunnel simulators and computers and ballistic range. Arc jets are the facilities we use. It's basically a wind tunnel that blows hot air to test the materials on reentry. But these are all the different type of facilities we have out there to test the various concepts we're researching. Next chart. A lot of people ask me, was it fun? It sure was. In the right-hand corner, the Tesla vehicle you see there was the very first Tesla vehicle that was produced. It was actually, they were actually considering building their factory at Ames Research Center before NUMMI went bankrupt in Fremont and decided to move over there and get a self-built factory. But I was driving in the coupe there with the program manager at the time when I was a director of center ops because they were using our airfield as a test facility. But, and I got to drive a Convalescent Rice during that time frame. So it was fun as far as the things you got exposed to. You can see we had at one time a Zeppelin that came out to our site that was looking at doing tours over the Bay Area. And we had what they call first robotic activities with students. This is a sample of some of the things I was involved with. Next chart. Yeah, there were astronauts. I met John Glenn, the recent Charlie Bolden and I used to play golf. Sally Ride was out of the UC Santa Cruz, got to know them. And the quirky mind of Buzz Aldrin used to come out to Ames all the time. If we could keep him kind of quiet, what he talked about, it sounded rational, but when he got to going good, it made it seem like we were outside the comic book strips. Next chart. It was political, very political. I spent a lot of time in DC. You can see I got to meet Obama, you're a part-time resident in Chicago, Condoleezza Rice, Dick Cheney, not to mention Tony Blair and others came because we were a federal enclave that blocked people from the media. So when they came to the West Coast, they used to love landing in our Bay Area and we have to do what we call honors. Next chart. And of course, we met a lot of industry people. Sharon Perez came from, at the time when he was still alive, came from Israel to look at our technology. Steve Wozniak of Apple got to meet, Blair and Colin Powell, just to give you a feel for the type of folks. Next chart. And I think this is the one dealing with, yeah, where I got to meet Pharrell when he came to one of our events where we were trying to make NASA cool again. And what I found interesting is the picture in the left-hand corner with Pharrell, he wanted to meet me rather than I meet him. That's what I thought was kind of cool because he was a space geek. Lieutenant Uhura, she visited Ames all the time from Star Trek. Got to meet, of course, most deaf. We did a virtual educational opportunity for trying to figure out to use hologram imaging of doing educational, inspirational things for STEM afar. So we were filming most deaf and Melvin Lee and the astronaut that you see there in San Francisco, but projecting them as if they were live, working and teaching a class in Virginia, Florida, and in the Bay Area at the same time. Technology was there, but the expenses cost over almost $1 million just to do that one setting, so it was very expensive. Next chart. Here, I just want to point out, this is the reason why it took us so long before we could get our own flight vehicle working with SpaceX. We decided that if we're going to explore space and go into the deep realms of the universe, we had to address these human, we call grand challenges within the agency. Propulsion, we use about 95% of all the capability, chemical propulsion capability to get out of our Earth's atmosphere, and all we have is enough propulsion just to maneuver once we're in space. And if we want to be able to start really going to distant planets, different areas in the universe, we got to figure out how to be able to preserve a lot of our propulsion capability after we exit the Earth's atmosphere. Problem with that is weight. The more that weight issue, you know, if you're going to colonize something, if you're going to establish a presence somewhere, you got to bring things with you. And the more weight you have in a spacecraft, the problem, and then the more propulsion capability you have to create. So you have to figure out how to trade off between the weight of something you put it in space versus the propulsion capability you have. The problem with that is if you cut down on the structure of the vehicle in order to make sure you have more propulsion, now you have vibrational situations that the ship can probably vibrate apart on takeoff. So you have to sit there, weigh these things out in such a way to ensure that you can exit safely and come back safely. Radiation is always a big problem. Most of the time people think in terms of solar radiation from our sun, but we also have cosmic radiation from the stars, the universe. All human tissue has a problem with that. We don't talk a lot about it within the agency, but all our astronauts do have problems as a result of the longevity they spend in space. And it's something that needs to be addressed, and hopefully we can in order to do the exploration that we want to do. Human physiology, of course, when you get into space, after 2 weeks, your body deteriorates because you're no longer fighting gravity. Your heart shrinks, your blood vessels shrinks, your bones become weaker, you stretch in height by about 2 inches. Okay, just a lot of problems. The problem with that is right now, because we can't use nuclear power to exit the Earth's gravity to go to Mars, we have to use chemicals. It'll take roughly about 7 months to get to Mars, and we're not going to stay there for a day, so we'll probably be there for about 4 or 5 months, and then we'll come back. It'll be another 7 months, so you're talking about 1.5 years or more. What human being is going to be able to withstand the gravitational force of Earth when they come back in? What you don't realize now, when you see somebody come off a space station, they always show the head up, the neck up, shoulder up. The reason is they're laying down. It takes them 3 months to recover if they've been in station for over 6 months or more. They cannot get the use of their bodies for about 6 months. I mean, about 3 months after landing. So we show the nice part that, hey, it was a great ride, but they go through a lot of pain and recovery trying to get their bodies back to get used to the gravitational force on the Earth. And the other one, a lot of people don't think you have this problem on Earth, is waste. What are you going to get rid? How are you going to get rid of all your waste material? You know, how do you make sure you reuse it? How do you make sure that it's viable? Some people even talk about putting waste inside the frame of the flight vehicle to be able to intercept the solar rays that are coming in that is causing damage to the human tissue. So you can imagine one guy came in on a commercial venture saying, why don't we just take all the human waste as they're flying to Mars and just stuff it in the membrane of the craft? And I said, that's going to be one smelly ride all the way to and back if they followed that process. Next chart, please. This one I kind of like, I already covered a little bit. It's just to give you an idea, since we always talk about Mars. As long as we have to rely on chemical propulsion, it's going to take a while. If we were able to go to nuclear, we could probably get to Mars in a month. We could probably stay there for about 6 months and come back in about a month. The problem is, a lot of people don't realize about 40% maybe 50% of all space launches blow up on the pad or on ascent. And they don't realize how unsafe it is just yet. We haven't got to the point, it's like pulling the car out of the garage and being able to go into space and come back with hardly any problems. So if you went nuclear, you always had to worry about nuclear fallout from the explosion of the craft as it's on its ascent. Next chart. This is the one I love. This is the one we used to love to show the congressmen. We used to love the staffers, show dignitaries. You know, and this hasn't changed much other than the length of time that we spent in the station. You can say now is 12 months, but the highlighted green area is basically all we know about space flight. We know that if you take an aspirin at a certain altitude from Earth, as you go further out, it works differently because everything we develop is based on its interaction with gravity. So the further you get away from the Earth's gravitational pull, the less responsive the medical capabilities that we have developed are in space. Likewise, with certain tools that we develop, everything again is based on how it interacts with Earth's gravity. So our problem is we know what it takes to go to the moon based on the short time that we formed the moon. We know what it takes to exist in space station up until a year. But if we're going to go to Mars, which is in the far upper right-hand corner, everything you see there that's kind of black, we don't know what effects it's going to have on the technology that we're producing, nor do we have idea what the effects is going to be on living organisms that'll be transported. And we still need to understand that in order to make sure we can safely get to and from Mars. Next chart. This was my world. This is a synopsis, basically all the things that we accomplished when I was at Ames Research Center as the Deputy Center Director. We established a space station program office where we did affordable space station missions, normally in the CubeSat area on an education arena. We had the L-Cross mission, a lunar mission where we imploded a probe on the moon to prove that there was ice inside a cavity of a crater. We had the Kepler mission as I was leaving that discovered 2,500 exoplanets and probably about 200 that are similar to Earth. We are in the robotics arena. We helped out with Curiosity, with the parachute to get Curiosity there, and a lot of the life detection equipment on Curiosity came from Ames. And you can see the radar screen to let you an idea of air traffic controller activities, as well as the DNA strain dealing with synthetic biology. This was my world until I retired. It was vast, it was broad and exciting and fun. It's nice to know that you're on the leading edge of technology. I believe that's the end. I was trying to race through all this because there's a lot of material and we were just a subset. Oh, there is. When I go out and talk to kids, I always bring up the grand challenges. We had a university allowed to be established on our site called Singularity University. And they were always addressing grand challenges. How are you going to sustain 7 billion people on planet Earth if you have a problem in any of the areas that are considered to be grand challenge? This lists a few, which is air quality. How do you deal with the scarcity of resources, overpopulation issues? How you deal with transportation, climate control? It doesn't even talk about, you know, a lot of things dealing with energy, as well as the fact that shelter is a big deal as well. How do you shelter all these people? We used to have people come in every year for the 7 years I was there, every summer for 2 months, and they would sit and try to figure out if we had a problem, like we're dealing with this pandemic. If we had a problem, how would we address that to make sure that we ensure that the human race continues to be viable and can survive? And so we did that type of work as well at Ames. Now, I think that's the last chart, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Braxton. That was very fascinating, and that did not disappoint at all. That was very interesting. We have time for probably about 2 questions here, just real fast, maybe 2 minutes. And I've got a couple in the chat box here for me. So let's start with this one. Where do you believe we stand now in comparison, say, to the Chinese or Russians in terms of space-related technology?
Okay, we're still far superior than both Russia and China at this particular point in time. Russia is basically at a standstill. They've been leveraging on the United States just to get money to make sure they can sustain their programs to the best of their ability, okay? But overall, we're leaps and bounds ahead of Russians in their ability to be able to go and explore the universe or to advance. They're using established, proven technology. They haven't really built on that. China's another story. China is in a way catching up. They're trying to catch up. And it has a lot more to do with defense. A lot of people don't realize that there is a big race to get to the backside of the moon from a defense perspective, because if, you know, it's the old adage, if you have the high ground, you have a competitive advantage of your adversary. And China would love to be able to establish a more robust capability on the moon, as well as in satellite detection, so that they could start controlling more of the Pacific Ocean. A lot of the people don't realize that the United States is as strong as it is because we have the strongest Navy in the world, and nobody's going to tread on our commerce on the Pacific and the Atlantic. And China and Japan would love to be able to reaffirm their dominance in the Pacific Rim, so they can start dictating more of the commerce that's associated with that. As a result, that's why China is pushing out. Where they made their major breakthrough was about 7 years ago, when they established the ability to dock. Once you're able to go up in space and you were able to dock to another spacecraft, now you have the fundamental capabilities to build items in space. And so we're watching them like a hawk. They do try to steal. It was one of my big concerns. They broke into our supercomputing activities several times with our Ames Research Center to steal data. But China's the area to watch that's really trying to get there. But it's more about them being able to control the Pacific Rim for their advantage on commerce.
Got it. No, that's really interesting. One more, just quick question in 30 seconds or less. What piqued your interest in space in your career or as a child?
I grew up as an Air Force dependent. My dad flew in the Air Force. He was on B-52 bombers, and I grew up around that. So when I got to the college years, I just wanted to stay close to the type of technology that I kind of grew up all my life. And I had an opportunity to be an intern with the Navy or with NASA. NASA was cooler, and I went out there. And just like the lady said, when I joined, they hired me based on my write-up. But what I didn't know, they're making a big push to get people of color or minorities. When I walked in, they looked at my resume and they saw me, and they went running out in the hallway and told everybody, we got another one and we didn't even try. So they were happy at the fact they had another Afro-American that they had recruited back in 1975 without making a major effort to do so.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Braxton. And I think that was lucky for us as a nation that you did join NASA. And thank you very much for sharing your experiences with us today. If you don't mind, hopefully after this conversation, I can follow up on a couple of items and a couple of other questions that a few other folks asked, particularly learning more about some of the STEM programs that NASA has done. But for now, I want to share with you a gift we're going to send you in the mail. We try to support organizations that affect lasting change in Chicago. So we're going to send you in the mail a candle, and I actually have one, if you can see it right here, and there's one on the slide. And basically the proceeds from these candles support Bright Endeavors. It's an organization whose mission is to empower young moms by providing transitional jobs and professional skills training. So this not only helps those moms, but of course it supports their kids and ultimately the communities. So this is consistent with our community service focus this year on education. Thank you again for joining us, Mr. Braxton, and you'll be receiving one of these in the mail. Please do stick around if you'd like to attend the rest of our meeting.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, very good, very good. So with that, let us move to the new member induction, and I'm going to pass the floor over to our membership chair, Laura Innes. Laura?
Good afternoon, everybody. So today we have 2 new members to induct, I'm sorry. I'd like to introduce the club to Natalie Loma and Robert Harney. What's going to happen now is I'm going to read the general induction speech, and then we will give an opportunity for both of our new members to introduce themselves to our club. So it is my great pleasure on behalf of the Board of Directors and Rotary members to welcome each of you as members of Rotary One. We welcome you not only for the fine fellowship that we shall share, but also for your talents, abilities, and enthusiasm that will help us to carry out our many projects to make our community, our country, and the world a better place in which to live. Rotary is not a political organization, but all Rotarians are vitally concerned with everything pertaining to good citizenship and the election of good men and women to public office. Rotary is not a charitable organization, yet its activities exemplify the charity and the sacrifices that one should expect from people who believe that they have a responsibility to help others. Rotary is not a religious organization, but it is built on those eternal principles that have served as the moral compass for people throughout the ages. Rotary is an organization of business and professional people pledged to uphold the highest professional standards. Rotarians believe that worldwide fellowship and international peace can be achieved when business people unite under the banner of service. So Natalie and Robert, each of you has been chosen for membership in the Rotary Club of Chicago because your fellow Rotarians believe you to be a leader in your profession and because you manifest the intelligence and commitment of heart that fit you to interpret and impart the message of Rotary. You are a representative of your profession in this club, and any information of educational value pertaining to your profession must naturally come to us through you. At the same time, you become an ambassador from us to your profession, and we rely upon you to carry the principles and ideals of service, which we aspire, to those who share your professional activity. The community will know and judge Rotary by your embodiment of it in character and service. We accept you as a member now because we know our principles and organization will be safe in your keeping. We also expect you to give us the inspiration that will help us become better Rotarians. And it is with this hope that we welcome you to the Rotary Club of Chicago. Now, when we get our pins, you will each be given a pin. You receive a Rotary Club pin as well as a Rotary One Club pin. Our club is a distinct pin with the number 1 and with also the original Rotary wheel. So it is different. Many people come to us and ask us for having a Rotary One pin because in the world of Rotary, it is a unique item. All right, so at this time, I'd like to turn the stage over to Natalie to introduce herself to the club. All right, let's see. Natalie, are you able to, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There you go. Hello, everyone. I'm Natalie Loma. I'm originally from Cameroon. My background is in fashion and media. I'm a fashion designer. I make custom clothing. I joined Rotary for the service. I get to volunteer to my community locally and internationally, and also for fellowship. I get to meet new people, make new friends, and for business, networking with other business profession and other entrepreneurs. So I'm very excited to be part of Rotary, be a member, and I'm looking forward to meeting everyone.
Welcome to the club, Natalie. We are very happy to have you. All right,
Thank you.
Robert, if you would please unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the club.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert Harney. My company is Open One Solutions, and we are a communications company. What that means is we help clients communicate with their clients and how their clients communicate with them, be it voice, text, the chat, video, whatever it might be. and how we communicate internally within our own organizations, within our own teams with voice and connecting to teams and connecting to CRM. And we do that through voice communications. A big reason with Rotary, I'm also very active on the board of the Small Business Advocacy Council. There we're working on some really great programs. Like right now, we're working on how we can assist and get financial institutions into underdeveloped areas of the city. Is one big area we're working on actually right now. I'm also the past worshipful master, which would be president of my Masonic Lodge. I'm currently our lodge's treasurer. So we've done a lot of work. We've done so as well with different organizations and feeding the homeless through our Masonic organization. So I'm looking forward to being an active member of the club.
Welcome to the club, Robert. We're very excited to have both Natalie and Robert join our club. And then as a reminder to everybody here, we do currently have a membership program going on where members who join now will not be charged the usual $350 processing fee, and they will also not pay dues until we begin meeting in person or the board decides otherwise, because you never know how things will change. So if you haven't had people who've been, or if you've had people before who were expressing interest, but the time wasn't right or the cost wasn't right, this is a great chance to get them in and to join us. Eric, I turn it back to you.
Thank you very much, Laura, and welcome Natalie and Robert. It was good to see both of you guys this week. My door's always open. Feel free to reach out if you have any ideas you want to share. So speaking of service and the great things that we're doing in the community and vocational service, as Robert sort of touched upon, I want to move now to the next segment where we spotlight service projects, a big outcome of the strategic plan, letting people know the great work we're doing internally and externally. And so as part of today's segment, we're going to focus in on Job 1. So with that, I'm going to hand the floor over to the Job 1 chair, Alita Williams. Alita.
Hello, everyone. Oh, great pictures. Thanks for coming to the meeting today. And just very, very quickly, I Job 1 Vocational Committee. We help Chicago high school juniors and seniors get internships at Chicago area companies. And we worked really hard this year, and we're still able to place 90% of our students. We only have 3 students that weren't able to be placed this year. So I'm really excited with that. And to speak on their experience, I have a student here today, Alexander Shaw, and his mother, Mrs. Shaw, who would like to tell you all about their experience with Job 1 and how they feel about the program. And Mrs. Shaw has actually had 2 students in our program, so she's a great advocate for us. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Alexander.
Hello, can everybody hear me? Well, okay, so, yeah, so like Ms. Williams said, my name is Alexander Shaw. I'm currently a rising college freshman. I'll be attending Iowa State University in the fall. I've been a member of Rotary for 2 years now. I've served in a internship for the past 2 summers with the same company actually that I got to get a chance with through Rotary. And like, not to be cliche, but it quite literally kind of changed my life, like the path that my life was on. So, so to speak, so, you know, the first time I had a chance for Rotary and I was in the internship for a company that I'm working for now. I'm actually currently here right now at work. But, you know, so I was a junior going into senior year that summer. And like most juniors going into senior year, you already have a plan, you know what you want to do with your life. And I already had a, a plan. I already had a track I was going through. I wanted to do law enforcement, and I also wanted to join the military. So I planned on majoring in criminal justice. and I was going to go to college for that, and I was going to do the Marine option for NROTC in college and serve in the Marine Corps. And that was prior to, getting this internship and getting this opportunity. So the company that I've been internship for the past 2 years with is called Steadfast Networks, and it's just a IT infrastructure company. We do a lot of hands-on computer engineering work. There's also computer networking and other things like that. And going into it, because I'm a computer guy. I also know a lot about computers. My dad does, so he's kind of been teaching me over the years. So I knew what I was getting myself into. I knew, I was interested in it, but I never really thought that I'd be where I am now. So that whole experience, the summer of junior year, totally it changed my life. Seriously, I started thinking about, the bigger picture. This is the first time I've actually been in a professional setting at work and this is a young age. I'm 17 years old, working with grown men at a real job, doing real work, making, real efforts to helping, companies and doing things that are actually really important. And in this industry that I'm in, this is a really important industry. Like my company, we make sure that people's servers are running right so their websites can stay up, etc. And I gotta say that I actually enjoyed myself. I found myself, when there was work to be done, I wasn't like, oh man, I gotta do work. I was actually excited to, learn new things. And then, my dad also knew a lot about it, so I could talk to my dad about it. And it was just the fact that I was doing something that, I really felt connected to, like, not only because my father used to do this when he was younger, it was something that, I genuinely enjoyed doing. I was like, there was never a time where I woke up in the morning and was like, no, I don't want to go to work. And so, of course, this got me thinking about the bigger picture. And I was like, this is probably something I really would want to do with my life. And so after that summer, I kind of shift courses. So, here I was before the internship, I was like, I'm going to do law enforcement, all this other stuff. It completely changed everything. So now I'm still going to the same college, but I'm majoring in cybersecurity engineering now that serves as a computer engineering major as well, which is a lot what this company does. So I changed my major. I changed my whole branch. Instead of going to the Marine Corps, I decided to go to the Army because it benefits me more in the career path that I chose. And it basically just altered what I thought my life was going to be, and it changed it into what it's now going to be. And I have to say that, this was probably where I was supposed to be. And I'm glad that I actually got this opportunity because as you see now, I'm still with the same company, still in Rotary. And, I'm actually at work right now. And, I really enjoy it, and we're still doing work and I'm still learning, but there's still a lot that I already know. And I feel like a lot of people my age probably, they don't get these kind of experiences or this chance to be in this professional setting doing something that they actually like to do. So, I just really thank Rotary for giving me this kind of, experience. So, yeah.
Thank you, Alexander, for that. And you make me so proud. Love your new haircut. And now his mom is going to say a little something. And Alexander, if you could stay on, we're going to do questions and answers after the meeting is over in case anybody has any questions for you. Okay?
Okay.
And Mrs. Shaw?
I'm unmuted. Okay, hopefully everybody can hear me. Good afternoon, Rotarians. I wanted this opportunity to share with you my gratitude. I've had 2 sons come through the program. This is absolutely one of the best programs in the city of Chicago. My oldest son, who's a rising senior, Romel, at the University of Illinois in Springfield, he was in the program in 2017, was placed with the Illinois Eye Institute. And as you can see, my youngest, Alexander, he's been in the program for 2 summers, last summer and this summer. And they both have 2 very, different personalities, which I'll get to in a minute. But overall, I think they both benefited from, just even before you get to the job fair, you have to improve your resume. And, oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, sorry. You have to improve, your resume. And even I learned by helping them improve their resume. They also do mock videos, mock interviews. And I think that's a great way for teens to learn to speak in public and gives them confidence. They teach them about proper work etiquette and money management. So Ron, my rising senior in college there, he's more quiet, a little more introverted. I felt like he needed to learn to speak in front of others a lot better. And I think through the whole program, the whole experience helped him in that. Also, he's quite the miser with money. And I just want to say the money he earned, he did spend a little of it, but I was so grateful because he saved the most of his money, and I never had to send him any money freshman year, which was, very helpful with, the college tuition I had to pay. And I actually could kick myself for not knowing, that he could have participated for 2 years. I just didn't know. So I kept that information completely tucked away for 2 years to make sure that my youngest son got the opportunity. I was hoping he was going to be selected, and he was. And as you can see, Alex is a very gregarious young man, and he already had confidence, but now I think he's just overconfident, exudes confidence, and it's great to see him, speak. Just what he just did with you guys, it just was great to see him speak. Also, Alex is a bit of a spender, not a saver like my other son, but the pride in his face when the money he earned and he was able to purchase things was just the look on his face was great. I did notice that when he purchases things, he'll shop on sale or take care of it better than when I've spent my money on the items. Also, both boys had the opportunity to learn about taxes. Alex just was like, why don't they keep taking all this money out of my check? I need it. I explained about taxes. They also had the opportunity to file income taxes. That, check they got later was, nice to have a little later on in college when you're, maybe running low, not in Ron's case on money, but yes. And so for middle-class parents like me, I don't get any grants. Yes, the boys have some scholarships, but this is helpful because now I have 2 in college. And, for them to help out of courtesy, it's just wonderful. They see me and my husband that, we have to sacrifice to send them both to school. And so they're chipping in like they should. And so I just wanted to say I'm so appreciative of this program. I want to thank Ms. Williams. I want to thank Steadfast. And all of you Rotarians for your support. It really means the world to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Shaw and Alex. It was so fantastic to hear from you guys. And I just want to say, Rotary One, this is what you guys are doing. This is where your funds go when you volunteer to help Job One. This is the difference. This is the impact you're making on families in Chicago. This is the impact you're making on students. So thank you guys for all that you do. And again, I'm hoping that Alex and also Mrs. Shaw, if you like, you can stick around at the end in case folks have questions for you guys. Next, as long as we're on this vocational kick right now, I want to bring in our immediate past president, Marshall Schmidt, to talk to us a little bit about something you may have heard some buzz about called the Rotary Network. Marshall, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Eric. And I know I don't have a lot of time, so I'll keep this short. About a month ago, one of our members came to Eric and me to talk about how devastating the pandemic was on his business and his professional life. And it energized Eric and I. We reached out to the district and we reached out to President Mark Maloney and John Hugo, and Rotary International got behind an effort that is now called the Rotary Network. And in short, what the Rotary Network is a vocational service for Rotarians to help them both during the pandemic and also after, or if they're just looking for a job or looking to change careers. The the takeaway from this presentation, if you take nothing else, is to write down the address of our new landing page, therotarynetwork.com. If you go to therotarynetwork.com, you'll see all of the different areas that we help. And there are really 6 facets to the Rotary Network. The first is career services. We've reached out to career service organizations, coaching organizations, placement organizations, and there are a whole series of services that are provided on that part of the website. There's a mentoring service. You can volunteer to be a mentor or to be a mentee. This is a service that we've been looking to provide for some time, and I encourage everyone to check that out. We have a business networking portion of the network, which is designed for businesses to get together and find ways to support each other. On July 30th, there is going to be the inaugural meeting of the Chicagoland Rotary Means Business Chapter. I encourage everyone to tune in to that. And all this information can be found on therotarynetwork.com. The third facet of the network is the Rotary Business Directory. We have established a directory where you can list your business. We encourage Rotarians to first think about doing business with Rotarians. And this business directory is a way for you to get visibility among other Rotarians and also to find services. And I encourage people to both list their business and look there first when you're looking for a particular good or service. The fifth area of the network is something called financial information, which is really a bibliography of information to use when you need a resource. And this one I want to point out for Robert, our new member Robert's benefit. The Small Business Advisory Council has been extremely helpful in setting this up and populating it. The Small Business Advisory Council is exactly the kind of organization that we're partnering with in the Rotary Network to provide these services. And finally, the sixth facet of the Rotary Network is what we call sharing ideas. And here we ask that people share their success stories and share ideas that they have in the vocational space. We launched this officially last Wednesday. We're encouraging everyone to visit the website and to participate in the various facets of the network. So please go to therotarynetwork.org. I said .com, it should be .org, therotarynetwork.org, and check it out. Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you very much, Marshall. This is really good stuff, and a lot of work has gone into it in a very short time frame. And like most things in most organizations, it's as good as what we all sort of put into it. So the more engaged you get with this tool and with the service, the better the tool and the service will become for everybody. And we'll keep hearing from Marshall on this, I think, every week in the future as we add more content to it and so forth, just to make sure people are aware of what we've got. We're probably going to run over a few minutes today. Don't tell Marshall. But I do want to make sure that we do get a chance for our guests, because we have many today. I do want to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, but I do ask you to keep it to 10 seconds. Just give me your name, your Rotary Club, and your profession. And we'll start with our visiting Rotarians first, and I'm just going to go down the list that I have in front of me. Is Nina Menace from College of DuPage, is she still on the line?
Yes, hi, I'm Nina Menace from College of DuPage, and I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Naperville and a past president.
Thank you so much, Nina. I see Jorg Schieber. Jorg, are you on still?
Yes, yes.
It's good to see you again, but if you could briefly introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm a member of Rotary Club Munich Freedom. I live in Germany, and once in a while I come to Chicago, and then I visit your club always. Since I'm a great space buff, I even have one of these mothball sketches here. I thought that's a really interesting topic today. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Jörg. Always good to see you. And I like the prop. I'll have to have one of those for the next meeting. All right, James Milton, are you still on the call? If you could introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm James Milton. I'm from the Rotary Club of Inverness, Culloden in Scotland. I'm a retired banker. I've been in Rotary for 20 years, and I would welcome anyone to visit our club. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, James. Let's see, John McLean, are you a visiting Rotarian, and are you still on?
Yes, President Eric. Yeah, past president of the Rotary Club of Londonderry in Northern Ireland, UK, 2005-2006. Werner Shield, our present president, put me on to this connection because my son, who had to leave to go back to his work, is a research scholar with MIT working on the Perseverance rover, which of course launches to Mars on the 30th of this month. So I really enjoyed the presentation by Mr. Braxton.
Wow, that's fantastic. And look, Rotary making connections, right? That's what we're all about. Thank you very much, John. And good luck to your son at MIT. I see Sabina Gartner-Nietzsche. Are you still on the line? Maybe she had to drop off. I know that we have a couple of more local Rotarians here. Willard Williamson, if you could briefly introduce yourself.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Will Williamson from Rotary Club Chicago Southeast, and charter member of the club and a past president. And I just want to say to my cousin that was our presenter today, I really thought he did a great job. Your first cousins. So Louis, hey, thank y'all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Willard. And I agree. I think you did do a great job. And let's see, also from Rotary Club of Chicago Southeast, I believe Keith is on the line. Keith, are you still there? Oh, maybe he had to drop off. I see
I'm here.
Oh, you are here, Keith. If you can just quickly introduce yourself.
Yes, yeah, I was muted. My name's
No worries.
Keith Cross. I'm a past president of Rotary Club Chicago Southeast. I'm also a current AG for the great district of 6450. My classification is I'm an entrepreneur, small business owner with a company called Legal Shield ID Shield. And I welcome all the guests. And it was a great presentation. And thank you, Willard, for sending me out that info.
Very good. Good to see you as always, Keith. Thanks for joining. Are there any other Rotarians visiting today that I may have missed? Okay, not hearing any. I'm going to move to other visitors with us today. Let's see. I don't know if Elaine McKenzie is still on. I don't see her on the list. Elaine, are you still on? Okay. Werner Krebs, are you still on? Would you like to introduce yourself, sir? I think you may be on mute. Okay, we'll come back to Werner. Is Zilan Yang, are you still on? Would you like to introduce yourself? You can unmute yourself and introduce yourself. Zilan? Okay, well, we'll move on for now, but everybody is welcome to stay after to ask questions to our Job One folks who are on today. And for those that didn't get a chance to introduce themselves, you're also welcome to stay on and chat for a bit as well. Very quickly, additional announcements: the Safe Haven Foundation global virtual run and walk to end homelessness. You can run at your own pace, at your own speed, in your own neighborhood. And registration is still open until July 26th. It's not too late to join. I went in there and I saw poor Lisa Russ all by herself on our Rotary One team. We are a gold sponsor for this event. So please either support Lisa by donating to the team, or if there's anybody who's a runner in our club or any other club, do sign up. I think Karen or Shelby, you can put the link in the chat box to sign up for that. The virtual convention for Rotary International continues through this month. Do check that out. We have committee meetings. They are all on the calendar, so please do check calendar on our website. July 23rd, we have both community service and international service. We have on July 28th, our upcoming meetings, our next couple of meetings. We have Crane Kenny, President of Business Operation for the Chicago Cubs. If you're feeling a little anxious about not being able to see some baseball, maybe you can just join the Rotary meeting and hear about it directly from Mr. Kenny. August 4th, we have our first Tuesday of the month. So that is a Rotary after work. And we've been listening to what people have been asking about. And so we are going to have that as an outdoor, socially distanced, in-person event. Stay tuned for the exact location. It'll be somewhere in the core of Chicago. We will have a Zoom feed for at least part of it so that remote folks will be able to participate in at least a portion of the meeting. August 11th, we're going to have our Job 1 celebration. Speaking of Job 1, I hope all can attend. And we are going to attempt to do something similar with an outdoor in-person event, socially distanced. Everybody wear their masks, and we will have a Zoom feed as well for those who are not comfortable joining in person. So we're all learning together, and we're going to see how all of this works. With that, we are going to move into the four-way test. And what I would like to ask is James Milton, our friend from Scotland, would you be able to recite the four-way test for us of the things we think, say, or do? And the slide should be up in front of you so you can read off the slide, if you'd be so kind. You just have to unmute yourself, James. There you go. And if everybody else can stay on mute while James reads the four-way test.
The four-way test of the things. Sorry, I can't see too well. Can I read it from the book that I have here? The four-way test is a non-partisan and non-sectarian ethical guide for Rotarians to use for their personal and professional relationships. Of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you so much, James. Meeting adjourned.